Hi there and good morning. My name is Madison Miller and I work for the Business Software Center as the marketing coordinator. This morning we are going to discuss how to use Teams in Teams live events with our Coffee Talk series. If you have any questions for me, if you would like to provide any feedback or just promote our Coffee Talks, please use the hashtag on the right-hand corner, hashtag Coffee Talk TBSC. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. And just for a reminder, if you haven't joined us before, we do always record these coffee talks and post them on our YouTube channel. So if you need to leave it all during this time, that's okay. We do post these on our YouTube channel and social medias afterwards. So let's go ahead and get started with how to use Teams in Team Live events. So firstly, why Teams? There's a lot of different competition right now when it comes to communication tools, especially when it comes to Zoom and Google. But why exactly would we choose Teams? Well, firstly, Teams comes with Microsoft 365. So if you're already paying for your subscriptions for Microsoft, chances are you have Teams already with you. Also, Teams allows for third-party application integration, so this is another really good thing Microsoft offers. It's very flexible. So if you're using different applications, it can be fused into Teams and make communication a lot smoother for you. I would say another great thing about Teams is it has high security. So that means that there's less data leaks, there's anti-spam and anti-malware. So I would compare that with Zoom. A couple of months ago, Zoom had a lot of data breaches during the pandemic. And so what they had to do was work really fast to ensure that their security was better. And then also with Zoom, they don't really have a specific place where they host their communications. So sometimes your calls may be diverted through China, and some may feel that that is a security risk. Another reason why companies choose Teams is that it boosts teamwork enhancements. So it's more than just the email. Teams also provides chat windows. You can schedule meetings. Obviously, you can do the video chats, which is a big thing right now, as most of us are working from home. Teams also offers project management tools, so there's no need to switch between apps if you're using a different source for project management. Perhaps try to switch over to Teams. Might as well just do all of your work in one location. And then finally, and the best reason why people choose Teams is because it's on the cloud. So you can essentially stay connected anywhere. This means that you don't need to download the app to use it. You can just use a web URL to access your Teams account, and that also includes everything that would include on the desktop app, such as the chats, the meetings, the video calls, and normal calls as well. I would say the most recent one I've been researching as far as why is choosing Teams is this push for sustainability. Now, I've been doing my research with Microsoft and their Go Green plans, and Microsoft aims to have a completely sustainable Go Green plan established and on its way by 2030. It has specific goals, but if you are a business who doesn't really know where to start when it comes to sustainability, you can certainly check out the Microsoft website for ideas. But I would say a great first start is using Teams. So as you can see here, there was a Forrester research study, and here we have the benefits and additional impact of those who are using Teams. Now, what's interesting here is they discovered that the average number of overnight trips was replaced with online meetings. So in that way, you can save on travel, but at the same time, you're reducing emissions. So it's both cost effective and good for the environment. So going into Teams and understanding Teams a bit better, I would like to point out that Teams is a bit different when you're using the desktop app versus the mobile app. So if you are using the desktop, you tend to have a lot more features. Now, Microsoft is in the works of making this more fluid between both, but as of now, you can definitely feel the difference when using Teams on your desktop versus the mobile app. So I would say limitations include the amount of people that you may see during a phone call or a video call. I would say the best experience is for sure on your desktop, but if you are on the move, if you're on the train and you need to join a call, mobile is always a really good option. You get the notifications sent directly to your phone if you have any chats waiting for you. So I would say just test it out and see, definitely use both and figure out which platform you like to use most. Now, for the basics of Teams, I believe most of us know this, especially because we have been working remotely for so long now. The basics of Teams include the chats, the calls, the scheduling meetings, and the managing of meetings. And I would say if you're here for a crash course on the basics of Teams, unfortunately, I'm not going to supply that. We're going to mostly focus on Teams live events today. However, Microsoft does have a lot of free tools and resources you can find on their YouTube channel. I have a link provided there on the left-hand corner. But yes, I would say if you're looking for the basics, just check out what Microsoft has. It's really user-friendly. I would say if you have experience with Skype, you're definitely going to pick up Teams really quickly. Likewise, if you have experienced Zoom, you can kind of get an understanding of how these applications work. So for how to use Teams, I will explain one important feature that I really like. It's how to make teams and channels. So what you would like to do if you're interested in making a Teams channel is you'll open up your Teams application, and then you will select the Teams icon on the left-hand side. And then whenever you select that icon, a box pops up, and you can see the box has Teams and team channels. So you can join or create a team, or you can select build or create a channel. And so with the team, that means your entire business. Whereas with your channel, you can break it down into different sectors of your business or just different work groups. So for instance, you can see different examples here. We have a marketing channel. So that would mean everybody in the marketing department would be able to communicate with one another without the interference of other team members. Say your technical support team has a channel. They can pass information back and forth without getting cloudy and foggy with everybody else involved in, say, the general Teams chat. So I would say that's really useful information. Likewise, with these channels, you can share text, chat, audio, and even files. So if you're looking to send something with a specific group and get feedback or perhaps edit a document, it's all edited through the cloud in real time. So you don't have the confusion of which version document you're on, as we would see with just sending them through emails. Now, there was this big Teams update that Microsoft was working on. This was inspired by the push for remote work back in March. And also with the competition of Zoom, Microsoft loves receiving feedback, and they often do make changes based off of the feedback that they receive. And so one big change that they made is this dynamic view feature, which means that they can have over 80 presenters on time at the screen. This is much different compared to the only 8 that they had before. This is inspired mostly by the competition with Zoom. You know, a lot of users really enjoy Zoom because there really seemed to be no limit as to how many presenters could be showing on the screen. But Microsoft has definitely improved their video features and is introducing dynamic view. They have rolled it out September 2020, so if you haven't seen it yet, it should be with you shortly. Now, Microsoft is also introducing video filters. So this is just another extension to the blurred background option. Video filters are essentially just filters you can throw over top of the video just to make the image more interesting. It is a competitive feature because some of the online platforms don't have video filters. They only have the changing background options or the blurred background options. Microsoft is also providing live captions during their sessions for Teams live events. And now these live captions are really good for those who perhaps don't know the language that well. They can read along with it, or they can't really understand the presenter that well. So they can read along with these live captions and really stay up to date with what is going on in the meeting or the live event. Now, the 20,000 participants, this is for Teams live events only, but they have increased their limit on how many people can join a Teams live event. And this one is 20,000 is the limit, and it's only view only, so they can't obviously go on video or on the phone or on chat or anything like that. It would just be to view the Teams live event. Now I do want to make a point here. We do have a questions and comments section open, so let me go ahead and just open it really quickly for us. Let me see if we have any. Yes, okay, so our questions and comments section is open on the right-hand side. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them, and I will certainly get back to them throughout the presentation. We only have about 20 minutes left, and I have a lot to go through, so I'm going to just go ahead and get back to my presentation. So we're transitioning here from Teams to Teams live events, and so we can ask ourselves the same question, okay, well, why Teams live events? Well, Teams live events is replacing Skype for Business, so Microsoft is retiring Skype for Business, if you haven't known this already. Yes, they are changing, and it's best to just switch to Teams live events. I mean, you might as well, because it does come with your Microsoft subscriptions. Teams live events is great because of the larger audience capacity. Like I said earlier, it has 20,000. It's capable of hosting 20,000 audience members. Teams live events is also really good for other business activities like training sessions or webinars. If you don't plan on being in the office for a while, just because of the remote work push, or because it's just safer to stay and work from home, you can still communicate with your team very efficiently through Teams live events. Like I said, you can do the training and the webinars. You can also do company announcements, and you can do product launches. What's really great about these live events is they do last up to 16 hours. So say, for instance, you wanted to do a networking event, or you can do a really large conference. You can do a 16-hour conference, and everything will be recorded for you, and then you can download all of the recordings later. And then also you get reports on who joined. So you get attendance report, and you can also get the questions and answers report. So you can follow up with people who submitted any questions that you didn't have time to provide answers for, which is really good. As far as Teams live events and how to produce or present a Teams live event, it's really important to know that you must have a Microsoft Office 365 Enterprise E1, E3 or E5 license, or an Office 365 Education E1 or E5 license in order to host a Teams live event. So if you are interested in doing a live event, you must have one of these licenses. And if you don't, you can find out really quickly that you don't when you go to schedule it and you don't see the button to schedule a Teams live event. So I will certainly go over a live demo of how to do that really shortly. In the meantime, I'm just going to talk about the presenters and the different benefits presenters get when using Teams. So as you can see, there's this really nice chart here that Microsoft has provided. Here you can see that there's the pre-event, in-event, and post-event options that you get as a presenter. Now, post-event, you have access to essentially everything. You can see the chat, you can view the recording and download it, you can view the files, and you can also see the questions and answers if it's enabled by the producer. Everything else is enabled, but when you create a Teams live event, you must enable the Q&A part if you are interested in having that open to your audience. Now, during the event, obviously you can't have a recording because the event is still in progress. So it takes just a few minutes for Microsoft to post the event to the Teams area, and then you can just download it where you originally scheduled your Teams live event. and I will show you where that pops up during the demo. Now, who can view? Whenever you are scheduling a Teams live event, you have the choice of who your audience is. So what's really nice about this is, say you just have a private company announcement, you can choose specific groups of people, specific users, or just your company. Whereas, say you're trying to do a conference or do a webinar, you can make the production public, and you can even allow anonymous users to join. That essentially means anonymous user means somebody who doesn't have a Microsoft Teams account would still be able to access the online webinar. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to schedule a Teams live event. Just a really brief demo here. We are running out of time a little bit, so I'll try to be as fast as possible. Let me go ahead and see if I can show you how to do this. Okay, I believe my screen is showing for you. So as you can see right now, this is what the presenter screen looks like for Teams live events. It might be a little confusing, but just give it some time and you'll be able to understand it a bit more. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to this Teams section on the left-hand, the calendar section on the left-hand side. This is what you usually do to create a new meeting. But rather than create a new meeting like you see here, you just click this caret on the right-hand corner, click that caret down, and you see live event. And this is how you schedule a live event. So if you're curious as to know whether you're on the correct license for your Microsoft, if you click the caret and there's nothing underneath, that means you do not have the correct license. So you will need to upgrade or switch your license in order to ensure you have the live event feature. Now go ahead and select a live event. You can create it as you would a normal meeting. You can title it, so I can do coffee talk. You can add a location. Oftentimes these would mean it's going to be virtual or web browser, so you don't really need to fill that out. Obviously, you can select the start and end dates here, so we can just make it quick and easy. We'll just, keep it as the pre-generated. And then, of course, you can provide information about the event. Please join me. And you have the ability to invite different presenters. And then you also have the ability to decide who is a producer and who's a presenter. So essentially, my role is a producer because I have the authority to switch between the desktops and show you different areas of my presentation. I have the ability to start and stop the presentation as well. So being a producer, I can also edit the event as needed, whereas the presenter has a little less privileges, but they can still present using their desktop, sharing their PowerPoints, sharing web URLs, all of that. So you can invite presenters, and you can invite people who are already part of your teams, or you can invite outside of your network just by using their email address. For the sake of demonstration, I'll just keep myself there and click next. Now here you can decide who has the event permissions. Will this only be a people specific? Will this only be organization wide? Or would you prefer this to be a public event where anybody can join, no sign in required? And then you can scroll down here and it says, will you produce this live event? How will you produce this live event? Now, as I said before, everything is selected for you except the Q&A. So you can go ahead and edit this as you need to. Be sure to enable the questions and answers if that's something you want to do. And then also here is a support link that Microsoft provides just in case anybody who's invited to the live event has any technical support issues. They can contact Microsoft directly and get that sorted for them. So you're pretty much done. You go ahead and click schedule, and your Teams live event is scheduled. The web URL is generated for you. As you can see, you can get the attendee link here just by clicking on it, and it copies automatically. If you scroll down, say you have invited different presenters or producers, they get a separate link that they can join with. So you can just quickly copy and paste this. Hey, Tom, I want you to know you're a producer at this event. Thank you so much for being part of our event. Please use this link below to join the live event session. Anything like that would work fine. Now, here you see the live event resources. These live event resources are available after the event. So what you do is, say your event ends. You select your event on the calendar and you will scroll down and you just click refresh. And then everything will pop up here, such as the video and the Q&A and the attendance report, and you just download it afterwards. So that's how you're able to access it. Unfortunately, I can't show you because this event hasn't happened yet, but this is where you would find the information. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to my presentation. So this is the producer and presenter. So this is what you were seeing earlier. Now, how to make the most of Microsoft Teams. This is where we come in at TBSC. So we do enjoy helping you optimize your software and use your software to its fullest capacity, particularly Microsoft, just because there's so much that comes in with your license that you're paying for, and sometimes you don't even know what features are coming with what you're paying for. So we can track Teams usage through our tool. It's called Smarter SaaS for Microsoft 365. We can freely suggest training needs for you, ways to increase your usage. And we can also help you entirely virtually. And essentially our product is quick, efficient, and cost-effective with SaaS management. So if you are interested in knowing how to better your Microsoft Teams strategy, I'm just going to go ahead and go over a demo really quickly here. Let me go ahead and share the demo screen. Okay, so this is part of our product. I just loaded it right up to the Microsoft Teams. We're running a little bit out of time, so I can't show you the full amazingness of our product, but for now we can just stick with Microsoft Teams. So this is our product, Smarter SaaS for Microsoft 365. And as you can see here, there's 4 distinct boxes at the top. You can see the total active users. You can see the meeting count, the active user percentage, and the inactive users. Now, I would say it's important to know who's inactive on your teams, because that shows us that they aren't using Teams to web at all or to its full capacity. So this means, for instance, you can ask the question, okay, where are their chats going? Are they using a different system in order to communicate with the team? Are they using a different video tool to have video chats or video meetings? Why is it exactly they aren't using Teams? You can ask yourself these valuable questions in order to enhance your usage. Overall user activity count is here. And so you can see that private chat messages for this demo data is extremely high. So this team is working really well on doing their private chats. Unfortunately, their meeting count seems to be really small. So perhaps they're not scheduling their meetings via Teams, and they might be just using a different software to host their meetings. Maybe they're using Zoom or Google. And it's a lot easier just to keep everything organized and in one application. That way you're not bouncing around. It saves time, especially it saves confusion. And another Forrester study shows that it does improve company communication when you're staying on Teams and using Teams as your form of team collaboration and communication. Now down here, you can see the user list. Now you can see the display name and the email. They are anonymized, but for purposes, this is just for purposes of demo, but you would see the actual name and the actual email address of the users. You can see the last activity date of the users, and then you can also see what exactly they're using. Now everything should be in green. Our goal is to help you get at least 95% optimized with your Microsoft Teams usage, and green means go, green means good. Anything other than that is really not that good, especially if you're in the red. That means that these are not being used. You can see here this team chat message count is at a complete 0, and that's really not good. Anything between green and red is kind of getting there, but not really. So we can certainly export this data for you, review it with you, and teach you different ways on how to optimize your teams really quick and easily. So I'm just going to go ahead and go back to my presentation. Okay, and I also am going to look and see if we have any questions coming in. Okay, so we do have a question. It says, what is the difference between Teams channels and private chats? That's a good question. I don't think I actually went over that. So there is a difference between Teams channels and private chats, and that is with the Teams channels, that places everyone in the team to have an open conversation. So if your channel is specifically meant for marketing people, only the marketing department has access to, I guess, talking about it, but essentially everyone has the ability to access the conversation, whereas private chats are only visible between those in the chat. So if you are messaging a specific coworker, those chats are between you and your coworker. Those will remain private, and no one else has access to them. I have another question here, and it's talking about, can I still make one-on-one calls? The answer is yes. You can still make one-on-one calls using Teams, which is really excellent. And you know how I said earlier, Teams has the ability for integrating with third-party applications. So this would be something like VoIP, for instance. So if your company is already using VoIP to do sales calls, you can integrate it into Teams and use Teams as your sole source of communicating with your company, but also with your potential clients. Okay, so I don't see any other questions coming in, so I'm going to go back to my presentation. I did want to end this with our Smarter SaaS free trial. We are offering Smarter SaaS for Microsoft 365 on a free trial for 14 days. And this is no obligation to you. We don't take any credit card information. Essentially, what you gain from the experience is learning how our tool can help optimize and make your Microsoft licenses usage more efficient. You will get a free health check on your SaaS tools. We do provide a lot of feedback for you. We could give you reharvesting information. We can show you your surplus. We can show you what licenses are being used and not used. Can show you inactive users. And what I really like about that is oftentimes we find when we give our free trials away is companies don't realize they don't terminate some of the or reharvest some of the subscriptions that they have. Say, for instance, a company left, a few months ago, you could still potentially be paying for that Microsoft license and not be aware of it. So, our tool does all this stuff automatically for you. Might as well try it for 14 days and see exactly where your business stands and really get quick, efficient, and cost-effective software asset management. So at this time, I'm going to see if we have any other questions before I end. I don't see any new questions coming in. So I will say at this time, thank you so much for joining us for this coffee talk on Teams and Teams Live events. Our next coffee talk session is on the 2nd of October. It's always 10:30 in the morning, London time. And I'm going to go over automation, the key to scalability on this coffee talk. Now you can sign up through our website, thebusinesssoftwarecenter.com, but I also have the Eventbrite as well. So feel free to find us on Eventbrite and sign up for free that way. All of our coffee talk sessions are free, so and they're all pre-recorded. So if you would like to find us, communicate with us, watch our previous coffee talks, please use the hashtag CoffeeTalkTBSC on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube, and you can find us really easily. All right, thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.